All right, what's up, my friends? Welcome to the complete set review for Spider-Man, and also through the Omenpaths, because that's how things work. Going over every card in the set for constructed and limited. That's every single card, and I'll be going over the Spider-Man version and through the Omenpaths version. A lot of work went into that. Please support the content, like, comment, subscribe if you are, if you're here, you want to help out and do the thing, right? Don't forget, 10 new brews will be happening next Wednesday, September 17th. At 2 p.m. through the Omenpaths on Arena. 10 new brews, should be a lot of fun. And of course, it'll be on YouTube right thereafter. Let's just jump right in. All right. First card here is Agent Venom. I don't really know this character very well, but 2 mana for a 2/3 Flash Menace. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So right now, Midnight Reaper, which is a card that saw some play in the past, is currently legal in Standard and sees no play. That's a 3/2 without Flash and Menace, but that's the same ability. Does not bode super well for this card, I don't think. You're looking for a good card that wants to draw cards when you lose creatures. Play Sephiroth. That's a pretty cool card. But yeah, so I think this card's going to be good and limited, where it'll be Rylix via Cursed. But constructed-wise, probably not really good enough. Just doesn't really have the stats to kind of get there in a world where... threats. Also, Midnight Reaper draws on itself, correct? So that's which is a huge part of the card. You play the Reaper, they kill it, you still draw a card. So, yeah, a little underpowered, not super exciting, although a fine limited card for sure. Alien Symbiosis. Wasn't there an X-Files movie about that? So, for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1, has Menace, and is a symbiote. And the cool part about this card is you may cast it from your graveyard by discarding a card, in addition to paying its other costs. So, kind of a cool card. Not really playable and constructed. But as far as limited goes, this is a really cool way to continually discard cards over and over again to trigger your random, like, mayhem effects and connive effects and things like that, which is cool. So I think this card's pretty nice, honestly. Having this repeatable way to do this, a little bit of a buff, give you menace is kind of nice. The kind of thing where you can just keep doing it over and over again, so it's a constant flow of discards. This card's sweet. So, good limited card for sure. Again, black and limited is all about discarding stuff. Red-black is all about mayhem. More on that in a bit. And then blue-black is all about connive. Noting that there are only 5 archetypes in limited for this set because it's a small set, so it's only the allied pairs. So this plays well in both of those. I think it's a good limited deck, Constructed-wise, I don't think it's good enough. I just don't think we're seeing enough power on this. But limited, really, really nice. Behold the Sinister Six. We're going to give us our Sleeper Award. This is a pretty interesting card. 7 mana for a sorcery. Return up to 6 target creature cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, kind of like, Patriarch's Bidding or some other, effect like that, where clearly this is much more expensive than Zombify. This is not a bring back, one Atraxa or whatever else kind of card. But there are a lot of, multiple creature combo kills you can put together with Terror of the Peaks or Calamity or other ETBs or maybe a card that gives all your creatures haste, where I could see some sort of, deck popping up where you are doing some Zombify things, but also have this kind of, cast this card, win the game effect. It's pretty cool. Probably not, but it is able to do that. It is also up to 6. So you can, if you don't need to have 6, just a boomers remember the card Hex, which was 6 mana, destroy 6 target creatures, but you couldn't cast it. There weren't 6 creatures in play. Fun design. But yeah, so it's up to. This card might not make a splash, but I want to draw attention to it because it is pretty easy to cast as far as splashing goes. It's kind of a cool card. Yeah, kind of a cool card. A pretty good limited card, honestly. Just 7 mana, draw 3 cards to the battlefield, which is pretty sweet. And also, in limited, this set's all about graveyard stuff, where it is Hex of Undeath. Much cooler name, in my opinion. Yeah. I think this card is an interesting card as a sleeper pick. Probably not going to break the metagame down. But yeah, cool card, big, heavy impact card, and could do some pretty cool things. Black Cat Cunning Thief. Gonti, sort of eat your heart out. 5 mana for a 2/3 with no keyword abilities. Look at the top 9 cards of your opponent's library and exile 2 of them. And then you may play cards for as long as they're exiled with mana of any type. So sort of like a super Gonti, right? Where Gonti was 2-3 for 4 with Death Touch and we got 1 card. This forfeits a Death Touch, which was actually a huge part of what made Gonti so good, for an extra card, for an extra mana. I think that's a pretty bad trade. Gonti having Death Touch is why the card was so good, because you could play it on any board, just block anything with it, and it would always trade. Whereas this card, 5 mana for a 2-3 is pretty damn bad. So sizing-wise, I think his card is a little small. Constructed, not going to make it. In limited, his card's great. I mean, it just, 5 mana for a 2-3, draw two good spells, which is pretty nice. But yeah, not really a card for constructed, but in limited, we'll see it as Wrench, Speedway, Saboteur, and Human Rogue Villain. It is an outlaw. I suppose it's not really relevant, but yeah, so fun card. Fun limited card for sure. Constructed. A common Crook.
They have a warrant for your arrest. You're going to
Not even a fair fight. Spider-Man's pretty freaking strong. And this poor dude just has a crowbar. He's just going to get his ass kicked, Like, not smart. But, yeah, good draft common. 2-2 for 2. And when it dies, make a treasure. This is just a good card. Good limited card. Makes material, makes rectangles. Body's fine. It's also common Crook on the arena sheet. Yeah, just a good card. Good stuff. Good limited card, nothing more. The Death of Gwen Stacy. Too soon. Too soon. This is the Black Saga. Every color has a rare saga in the set, telling some story about Spider-Man. And this is 3 mana for a Chapter 1, destroy a creature, which is pretty fun. Chapter 2, each player may discard, and if they don't, they lose 3. Chapter 3, exile target player's graveyard. This card's, fine, where, 3 mana to kill a creature for source speed is, okay. Each player discarding a card. If you are utilizing your own discard for synergy, sure. But I feel like there's just better ways to both kill things and make discards happen and hate graveyards. So, I don't think the full package here really makes it in constructed. But in limited, the House Grows Hungry. Again, a much cooler name and art, in my opinion. Is a great limited card for sure. So it is a kind of card you can bounce with Nurturing Pixie in theory and stuff, but it's pretty expensive. So I don't know. So probably not there constructed. Great limited card. Pretty cool. Gwenom Remorseless. I'm going to give this best in show. I wanted to give it sleeper, but I couldn't really find a card that I thought was better than this, honestly, in black. So what we have here is a really powerful card that's got a little bit of upkeep necessary. So 5 mana for a 4/4, Death Touch Lifelink. Whenever Gwenom attacks until the end of turn, you may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may play cards on top of your library by paying life instead of mana. That's pretty sick, where you can in theory just bang, 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 3 cards off the top with this. The problem is playing it, saying go, untapping it, attack with it. That being said, there are a number of good cards in Standard that give haste for pretty reasonable rates. There's that 2/1 Saga that can do it in red. There's a few creatures in red that can do it. And this is the kind of card that really pays you off if you're able to attack immediately. Because the biggest issue with this would normally be attack immediately, but you can't use the cards. But you can because you're paying life. So if this thing attacks on turn 5 with haste, you attack with this thing, gain 4 life, play 2 of these spells off the top. It's pretty insane. So I think this card's pretty nice. I think it's a little hard to use, and it might just be might require a little too much work to be good and constructed. It's an absolute banger limited card. So it's just a really cool card in general. Really, really fun. And then on arena, this card is Egrix, the Bile Bulwark. But yeah, she does not need to, as far as I can tell, she does not need to survive the attack, which is the important part. If she needs to survive the attack, you're dead. Dead in the water here. But the fact that this thing just freaking goes in, bam, attack with the haste, and now you can just play a few cards off the top is really, really cool. So I think this card's sweet. Really, really fun card. Best in show award for black. And an absolute banger limited card. Inner Demons Gangsters. 4 mana for a 3/4. Discard a card, get a bonus. This is one of your mayhem enablers. More on that. That being said, for 4 mana, you could do better than this. This is mostly just limited filler in the kind of deck that would want this effect. In which case, it is Chaldea Brawlers on Arena. But yeah, limited filler for a certain archetype. Not a card you take highly, but you'd play it if you're playing, mayhem kind of stuff. The problem with this is the mayhem cards and the madness cards. You want to be able to play them for their madness cost, because that's sick. But if you aren't actually gaining a good value off the discard, you're not really gaining the full effect of mayhem or madness. If it's draw discard and then I play the card off the discard, it's almost like I drew a card for free. If it's something like this where the effect is really, really menial, it's not helping you a ton. It's mostly just cost reducing your mayhem cards, not actually giving you a huge advantage. So fringe, filler, not very exciting. Merciless Enforcers. Great common 2-drop. 2 mana for a 2/1 with lifelink, which is awesome. It's a villain, which matters for some stuff too. It has a mana sink ability of 4 mana. This creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So it's 4 mana, deal 1, gain 1, which is totally fine as far as the late game goes. So card's good early, good late. Just a good draft card, honestly. And it's also Merciless Enforcers on Arena, although slightly different flavor. Nice draft card, Not really like a synergy card. It's just a card that just plays well in general. It does connive well, though. Wears counters pretty well. So, card's great. Like it a lot. Good stuff. Morlun, Devourer of Spiders. Dude eats spiders. What a set to do that in, Good spot to be. This card's kind of nice. Black X for a 2/1 lifelink. It enters with X counters on it, and when it enters, it deals X damage to target opponent. I kind of like this card, honestly. So base rate black for a 2/1 lifelink is not good. That's not a constructed playable card. The fact that it scales over the course of the entire game, where on turn 4, it's like a 4/3 lifelink for 4 that deals 2 and gains 2. And then if you're flooded in the mid to late game, you can just crank 5 into it and deal 5 and gain 5. It's pretty sweet, honestly. This card's kind of nice. I think this is, it compares somewhat to Siege Rhino on 4. It's not that far off. I think the flexibility of this card makes it kind of interesting for a black aggro deck. I don't think you'd play a lot of these. But yeah, I think this card is actually pretty cool, and it's definitely a card that could see play constructed because it's just really, really flexible. If you want villains or vampires or whatever else. But yeah, cool stuff. And then on Arena, it's Luis, Pompous Pillager, who seems like it's not the same thing as Devouring Spiders. But whatever, that's fine. Same idea. Bonkers limited card. Just insane at every point of the on every point of the curve. And yeah, great limited card. Fringe playable constructed card. At all Parker Luck. Yeah, imagine being a superhero who's almost unstoppable and can just yeah, that sounds horrible to me. Oh no, boo hoo, But 3 mana for enchantment. Beginning of your end step, 2 target players each reveal the top card of their library, and they lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. And they put each card they revealed into their hand. This card's weird. So it reads like Dark Confidant, but it's Dark Confidant for your opponent's deck because you can't really build around it. You can't control how much their cards cost. So if they have a 5 mana card or 8 mana card, they're whatever, you just take 8. And then they're also drawing cards too. But you can build around your deck. So you could put 8s in your deck, I guess, and then they lose life. It's a really weird card. It's a Howling Mine, so both players draw. There's life happening here also. It's obviously cool in Commander where it's you can politic and negotiate and do whatever Commander shit you like to do. But yeah, kind of a weird card. It is cute that you can build around this and play a bunch of expensive cards and try and get your opponent with it, which is kind of fun. But yeah, kind of a fun build around. It's kind of cool. Definitely a limited card. On Arena, it is Duskmourn's Claim. In limited, this card seems pretty much unplayable, I would think, because you're just not. I don't think you're getting enough of the benefit out of it. Your opponent gets to play their card first. Similar to Howling Mine. You do get a card when they get a card too, but yeah, I don't know. Weird card. Prison Break. Let's get out of here. 4 mana Zombify, add a counter. Has Mayhem 4. I think this is our first Mayhem card, right? So, our first Mayhem card in black. Mayhem is a new mechanic. Very, very similar to Madness. It kind of cleans up some of the rules baggage Madness has. So, Mayhem means that if you discarded this card this turn, you may play it for the Madness cost or Mayhem cost. only at the timing that it is allowed to be played. And that is there because Madness did not have that restriction. So Madness you had to play it immediately when you discarded it, and at any time you could play it. So discard this at any point during the rest of your turn. You can cast it for its mana cost, which is kind of cool. And very, very powerful when you're conniving or drawing and discarding, because you're kind of just like drawing a spell when you discard this and then also able to cast it. That being said, Zombify +1 counter isn't that exciting. So not playable, constructed, and then limited. It's okay. Where it's also Prison Break with some elephants and goblins and all sorts of stuff. Risky Research. The meta for sorcery. Surveil 2, draw 2, lose 2. We've seen this card 1,000 times. You know, Read the Bones-esque. And surveilling is better than scrying, of course, but, you know, clandestine work, risky business, etc., etc. I don't love these kind of effects in limited because I don't like losing life and not affecting the board, but they are certainly playable at times in small numbers, so you get the idea. Sandman's Quicksand. Black 1 for a sorcery with Mayhem 4. All creatures get -2/-2 on its own turn, but if you Mayhem it, only your opponent's creatures get -2/-2. Not a bad card, you know, like it's just infest on the front side, which is playable. And then if you're able to Madness it, you get to do a little extra one-sidedness. That being said, it's a little clunky and awkward, so it's probably not going to get there constructed unless there's some like really, really apparent Mayhem deck. But pretty good limited, you know, one-sided. Again, timing rules apply. You can't discard this on your opponent's turn and then play it at instant speed. So it's kind of hard to use as a trick. But yeah, card's cool. And then on Arena, it is Miasmic Mist. You're probably seeing it more in limited than anywhere else. So there you go. Scorpion Seething Striker is next. 4 mana for a 3/3 Death Touch. Beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, target creature connives. Card's gas. Great limited card. Not playable constructed, but in limited, this is a well-statted creature with a good ability that's not that hard to trigger. And conniving is exactly what these black decks want to do. They want a madness, and mayhem, and they want to put cards in the graveyard and do all sorts of stuff like that too. So great limited card. Constructed, not good enough, but really, really cool and limited. Sort of repeatable effect is very, very good. Scorpion Sting. It's Last Gasp. This is a fine limited removal spell. Nothing more. There's a strictly better version of constructed. So good draft card. Same name on Arena. Take it. Kill your opponent's creatures. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, shit. It's the freaking Soul Stone. Damn. Wow. Right? 2 mana for an artifact. One of the 6 Infinity Stones. For those who don't know, who aren't in the know, right?
Yeah.
It's a mana rock. It's indestructible. It has 7 mana. Tap, exile a creature you control to harness the Soul Stone. And then once it's harnessed, it turns on the Infinity ability, which is the beginning of your upkeep. Turn a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. I can only imagine how much this is going to cost for Commander, as I imagine basically every black Commander deck will want one of these. Sure, that's fine. And constructed, I think this card is reasonably playable. Like, if you're playing a black kind of controlling-ish deck with some tokens in it or something like that, could be kind of cool. You know, the floor here of just like 2 mana rock as a floor is pretty good. We don't see those in standard usually. So you need to have a condition where you want this mana rock and also have creatures to sacrifice. But even as a mana rock, this card is potentially playable in standard. In limited, it's a little worse, I think. Not really, because the ability is so good. Yeah, sure. So on Arena, it is the Terminus of Return. It is a Terminus stone, legally distinct.
Here comes the money.
Legally distinct. Don't think about suing anyone, please. And yeah, so banger limited card, definitely playable constructed, and then of course this is a big deal for Commander players. So good luck acquiring those. Spider-Man Noir. I also have no idea about this Spider-Man. 5 mana for a 4/4 menace. Whenever creature you control attacks alone, put a counter on it and surveil X, where X the number of counters on it. That's a fine limited card, right? You can play it, use it immediately, which is kind of cool, and then put some counters, do a little surveilling. Just does what you want to do in your limited deck, right? It scales, decent body, a little bit of surveilling. It's fine. Yeah, just a fine Magic the Gathering card in limited. where it is Crobble, Envy of the Bog. Otherwise, don't play this card. Construct it. I've seen it in Spider-Verse. I don't remember it that well. It's good, whatever. Like, I'm not a big multiverse person. They're fun, but whatever. The Spots Portal. 2 mana for an instant. Put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library. You lose 2 life unless you control a villain. Isn't this blues part of the color pie? Even though, like, it's very dubiously debated because, like, it's basically a murder. Kind of interesting, but 2 mana for an instant. This is basically just 3 mana exile creature, you know, which is relevant in standard for things like Enduring Curiosity and so on and so forth. Losing 2 kind of sucks if you have a villain, cool, I guess, but probably, you know, not super playable in standard unless there's like certain conditions happening. In limited, this card's obviously great because it's just a removal spell and you're very likely to have a villain. On Arena, it is Remorseless Coupe. But yeah, great draft card. You know, possible fringe player if needed and constructed. But that's a murder, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. Swarm, Being of Bees. It's funny because I think this card is gas, but I really, really hate that it's a legend. 2 mana for a 2/2 fly with Flash, which is already like, you know, not playable like by itself, but pretty close. Has Mayhem for only 1 black. That is the cheapest Mayhem card in the set for the most part. And this has the ability to just, boom, Mayhem it in for 1 black. That is awesome. And, most importantly, because it has Flash, timing rules, you can play it on your opponent's turn. So, that's really, really cool. The problem is, in your draft deck, where it is Wekudu, Midnight Hunter, you're going to want to have a lot of these, right? To pay you off for doing this Mayhem, discard, connive sort of thing. And it being a legendary is speaks against that fact, which kind of is a little frustrating. But really, really cool card. I think this is the bread and butter card for your draft decks that want to Mayhem. 2/2 flyer for 1 black is awesome. Imagine conniving, drawing a card, and then discarding this and casting it. This is basically a 2/2 flyer that draws a card for 1 mana, which is awesome. So, love this card. I think it's so, so cool. Hate that it's a legend, but it's nice. And this card's got a shot at constructed, honestly. It's so cheap that it could really do a cool thing. So, love it. Cool stuff. Tombstone, Career Criminal. 3 mana for a 2/2. It's a Gravedigger for villains. It makes your villains cost 1 less. Again, pretty simple card. Gotta be a good draft card. If there is somehow, some way that there's like a villain deck playable in standard, you know, we saw old Rusty and C play. Probably not, most likely. But great limited card. And, yeah, not much more to say. You'll usually be seeing it as nil Vessel of Valgavoth in your arena drafts, where it will be a very solid black uncommon. Venom, Evil Unleashed. Another legendary common. The good news is for this one, hold on, don't boo yet. The good news is that this one you don't really want to have in play. This is a 4/5 Death Touch for 5. But the goal is not to cast this. The goal is to put it in your graveyard with Connive or other effects, and then spend 3 mana to exile it from your graveyard, put 2 counters on a creature, and give it Death Touch. So this is like your payoff for all this draw and discard. Every time you discard a Venom like this, you get value from the graveyard. You know, you're basically drawing a card that says 3 mana, put 2 counters on things, which is really nice. So, not often going to cast this card straight up, which makes it being a legend not mattering as much. But yeah, good limited card if you're doing the connive stuff. Good draft common, and not too much more. Again, weird seeing these legendary characters on commons where like they're just totally unplayable and constructed, but sure. Again, this is sort of like for the folks who buy, the kids who buy 5 packs that want to play with Venom. I get it. I don't really like it, but I get it. And the arena version is Tethic's Gift of Malice. Venomized Cat, that poor cat. Or maybe not. Maybe it likes being Venom. I don't know. The mana for a 2/3 Death Touch, EDB mill 2 cards. I mean, another filler limited common. If you're trying to do graveyard stuff, cool. Having Death Touch is pretty nice, honestly. It's a lot better than like gaining 2 life or 3 life or whatever. So this is a pretty reasonable common in your draft deck if you're looking to do that kind of graveyard stuff. But it is, of course, not that exciting. So limited filler and so much more. And it is Bane Marked Leonin. You think their graveyard is your ally. Sorry, wrong universe beyond. My bad. Sorry. Soon enough, my friends, soon enough. Venom's Hunger, 5 mana for a sorcery. Cost 2 us to cast if you control a villain. Destroy target creature. You gain 2 life. Isn't that just a freaking card from Target Dragonstorm? Right? We copying Hallmark here? Sure. Obviously a fine limited card. You know, interesting in a set full of villains. I guess it's the opposite, right? It's cheaper to kill a villain and less cheap to kill other things. Sure. But whatever. You get the idea. Just a limited card. Damning Caress. Damning indeed. And put the card in your draft deck and kill stuff. Villainous Wrath.
It's a trap.
Folks, decks that play Wraths are controlling. They're not usually interested in trying to kill their opponent via damage. 5 mana for a Wrath. They lose life for the number of creatures they control and destroy all creatures. That is not a valid upside for a 5 mana sweeper, right? 4 mana for a sweeper, we're in. 5 mana for a sweeper, you want some big upside to go along with that, whether it's, you know, Sunfall or Deadly Cover-Up, exiling creatures, yada, yada, yada. But your control deck, making them lose 5 life for wrathing them when they go from 20 to 15 is not really relevant at all. So it looks appealing until you stop and think about what the game's actually going to play out like. So there you go. And Commander, sure. Commander players have fun. Your opponent's got some Scoot Swarms in play. Kill it. Sure, that's great. But yeah, constructed, not really a thing. Good limited card, good commander card, trap card for all you standard players. And here is the arena version. Again, same name, and I'm not sure what's happening there, but sure. So to recap for black, we've got Gwenom, Remorseless, our best in show. Behold the Sinister Six is our sleeper card. Villainous Wrath is our trap card, and Swarm Being of Bees is our Bombin Common. Red's coming up. You two folks love you. Like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget Bronze Mythic premieres on Tuesday, September 23rd, 8 p.m. We're doing 1 or 2 drafts that night. Don't know yet if it's pick 2 draft or regular draft. We're going to find out, I suppose, but I hope to see you there. So, Red's coming up. You two folks love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.